Hello everyone, Gunning Tool Designer here. We're starting to build we're put together the dust collector system, the 2 horsepower from Harbor Freight, Central Machinery. Not going to bore you with watching me put every nut and screw in, so I'm just going to go through each step of assembly and kind of point out anything that I see that I have any issues with, or what you should be looking for to put together. So with that, first thing we're going to do is put the casters on. Okay, one thing I found on the casters is the holes in the casters seem to be a little further apart, a little spread apart further, so when you put these in, don't thread the nuts on very far. That way you have plenty of slop and looseness here that you can get the other ones in. Otherwise you're going to have to undo them, unloosen them, so that you can get the other bolts in. But once they're in, they line up pretty good, and it's a little hard to get in there with anything to tighten them up because these nuts are like right close to this bearing flange. The other thing is these are 8mm by 10mm long. They're in one of the hardware bags, except that they're not a hex head, they're a Phillips head. So you can only crank on these so hard, so you have to try and get them down as tight as you want, and then to try and secure them. Or you could use some thread locker, which I'm not doing at that at this point. The other nice thing is all 4 casters are free floating, and they all have locks on them. So that should give good stability when it's running, so it doesn't want to walk around too much. Okay, on to the next step. Okay, I actually skipped the next step that they were supposed to do, and that's to put the uprights on the base. I don't want to be bending them trying to get this thing on, so I went ahead and put the motor mount adapter to the bottom. Now, found that one of the things that they have a problem with is in the book tells you to use a number 8 by 16 inches long, which quite frankly is not long enough. So there happens to be 4 other bolts in the bag. They're number 8s, and they are 25mm long. So, and you need 4 of them. There was only 4 in the bag. 2 washers, 1 on each side, and the nut. Leave it loose for right now until you get it mounted to the base, and then we can tighten this up afterwards. Once we get stuff kind of aligned, we should be able to get in there with some wrenches and tighten this up. Shouldn't be an issue. So these bolts, 25mm long, number 8s. Okay, next step, we'll get this mounted to the base. Okay, with the motor base loosely fitted on here, bolts are loose still yet. This able to sit on here. There's 2 brackets here. Mine were bent slightly from the packaging. Just bend them a little bit and they'll fit right up. There's 2 holes here, one on each side of this bracket. These are threaded holes into the base. So there's no nuts on the other side. These thread right down through. Same with this one. There's a bracket here on the blower housing on both sides. Okay, now that I've got everything kind of sitting on here, all the bolts are in, everything's kind of basically lined up, I'll go ahead and get everything tightened up, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, next up we're going to put the shroud adapter on the blower. One thing I forgot to mention was the 6 bolts at the bottom are 8mm by 16mm long, and at the top here we have these are 6mm by 20mm long. You need 1 bolt, 2 washers and the nut. Now there's also a rubber gasket that goes here that you put on the top, and then you put this on. It does have ridges on both these sides, so that's the side that I'm going to put down on the steel face because it's flat and flush. This actually has a recess to wrap around everything, so because this is plastic and when we tighten these down it's going to distort a little bit. I prefer to have the lips down because the lips will kind of flow out where we have the bolts and still reach down onto the steel surface. So put that nut through the gasket and then another washer, and then of course finally a nut. Get that started on there. Well, I'll get it. I'm going to go ahead and finish mounting that, and then we'll be on to the next step. Okay, we got the support rails on. They bolt right to the base. Again, these are threaded into the base. 8mm, 16mm long with a washer. So there's 6 of them all together. Now the placement of these is the bent tang right here, and all 3 of them need to be facing inwards for when we go to put the next piece on, which will be the centrifuge. So we'll move on to that next and see what else we got going. Okay, got the top on here, or the centrifuge housing. Again, it takes the 8mm by 16 bolts, 16 long bolts with washers, 6 altogether, 3 for those. This piece is for the bag holder that goes at the top. And they show it behind the brace, so that's what I did. Though, I don't know, kind of looks like it would have been better on the outside. But anyways, that is now secured. What I did to make life a little easier is I sat the other 2 brackets, the one on the side and the one in the back, I set them up inside so I could have support to hold this up while I at least started 1 bolt in. Once that bolt was in, and then I was able to go ahead and get the rest of them in. So that's that part. On to the next step. Okay, next step, installed the handle. There's a separate bag with 2 socket head cap screws, 2 washers, and 2 nuts. Not on the front side of the main chamber here. Now I would recommend, because you have to kind of fiddle to get at everything here, probably best to put that on before you even put it on the upright rails, just to make life easier. Funny thing is, in the manual, they show it being the last thing that you install. Well, if that's the case, how are you going to put that on when you have the bags and everything assembled? Kind of thought that was funny. Okay, next we're going to put the hose between the motor and the centrifugal housing. Okay, putting the hoses on isn't that bad. You do have to kind of wiggle them a little bit, especially this one up here to get it on. So a fairly tight fit. This one's a little looser. And of course they come with 2 wire ring clamps that you tighten up. One down here, one up here. So that was pretty straightforward. Not a whole lot to it. Just tighten them up and make sure that they're on there snug. Okay, let's see what's next. Okay, got the bag on, the lower bag. Yes, it's flat on the bottom, so I'm assuming it'll open up a little bit better whenever we start pumping some air through it. Now I know from a lot of other reviews, people have a lot of trouble putting this lower bag on. It was a little finicky, but it wasn't too bad. The spring clips that they have on here, maybe they've gone to little better ones, but this one and the one over here on the back side held pretty good. I just popped the bump in there and it held the bag up pretty solid. The one in the back, not so well. It slid out a little bit. Once you get the strap around there, really you just need to play with that one side. The other 2 held up fine. And again, it's just a spring-loaded clamp. Hooks around the end locks in place. There's one for the top one also. So when you wrap it, got this spring right here, and then you have this hook place. So this ratchets over. So when you get it in there, you just bring it up to the closest one that it'll fit into, and then tighten it down, and it clamps it right down pretty good. So we'll go ahead and put the top bag on, see if I have any issues with that. Okay, from what I can see, you hang the bag on the top. Now there's only one slot opening for the strap to go through. So I prefer to have it kind of on the front, otherwise it ends up in the back. And it would probably be about like right in here, about right in front. Now, you have to feed it through. Take this end here and feed it through this slot first. Push it through. You'll have to have it above the back bracket that holds the top up, because it won't go past that, so you lift up on it until it gets through. But then lift it all the way through, or get it all the way through. And what I did is I hung the bag first and kind of put it down over the sides. And then when I finally got it through, I kind of just to kind of keep it up so I can get things kind of situated, I just put it on that first hook to hold it into place. And now what I can do is just kind of pull up on it, make sure it's like up towards the top of the lip. That should be underneath that piece, like that. And I'll slide it down out of the way a little bit. And tighten it up. Okay, so the bag's on. That wasn't too bad. Just have to figure out how to do it. Feed this portion of the bracket through first, the strap through first, feed it around through, hang the bag, make sure the slot opening's to the front. Hook this on the first one just enough, it's real loose so you can move it around. Make sure that you're kind of pulled up on the bag so that it gets taut around this upper lip around here. And then position it, in this particular case it's next to the last one. I suppose you could go one more after that, but and then clamp it tight. Doesn't seem too hard. Anyways, bags are on. I got one more thing I think I need to do, and we're ready to power it up. Okay, last thing to put on is the Y inlet. And of course it has a cap if you're not running two lines off of it. And a lot of other people reviewed this thing before. So there's a screw that comes in the top here, there's a screw hole here, and there's one on the bottom. But there is on the top. So just wiggle that on until you line up that screw hole. Put the screw back in. And it's a Phillips screw, sheet metal screw. And tighten it down, just in case. Plug this up. Just gonna grab one of these gates, see if it fits. Nope, I'll have to hook it up to a hose. But it's all together, so next thing will be plug it in and turn it on. Okay, got her all together. Put her in the corner of the shop. Excuse the lights. So that's basically where I was going to set it up originally. Pan off. Right now I just have the tube pointed out. Doesn't matter right at this moment. I've got some other hoses to hook up temporarily until we get things done, but I'll probably adapt that piece down there so it comes off of some pipe to the wall. We'll run some PVC down this wall once we get the benches built with the other equipment. We'll run one across this back wall over to where the CNC router is going to be and get it hooked up. And then I'll either have another line that branches off and drops down for the table saw, or I'll have something that I can hook up and remove quickly to move the table saw out of the way. So with that said, let's fire this baby up. Now I already turned this on, so I know it works. It says in the manual, do not turn on until fully assembled, but when I got this all out of the box, I'm plugging it in to make sure the motor works before I spend any more time putting this together. So here we're reaching around here. I don't like it back here, so I'll probably make a different switch mounted so that I can get to it better. Definitely seems to move a lot of air. First, the real test will be when I start actually using it to suck something up. I don't really have any sawdust in here right now to test it out on. But that's where we're going to position it for now. Get things going. And anyways, that's current status. Got some other stuff to work on here. Hopefully I can get to the base for the CNC router pretty soon. I'm hoping. I'm really getting tired of other things getting in the way. So stay tuned. If you want to keep following along, see where we're at next, please subscribe. Appreciate it very much. If this helped at all, I appreciate a thumbs up. Okay, thanks everyone. Till next time.